Good morning, everyone. I'm Bonita Zarillo, the Member of Parliament for Port Moody, Coquitlam, and we're here today on the unceded, traditional, and ancestral territory of the Coast Salish peoples. Right now, across British Columbia, people are being priced out of their communities. Renters are facing skyrocketing costs and being pushed out by corporate landlords. And families are making impossible choices just to keep a roof over their heads. It's not just a housing crisis, it's an affordability crisis, and it demands urgent action. And the NDP can do two things at once. We can protect Canada from the threats from the United States, but we can also protect Canadians and affordability with our strong team of New Democrats. They are leaders in their communities who have been leading the fight from pushing for rent-controlled homes on public land to securing real wins like dental care and pharmacare for millions of Canadians. So today I have the pleasure of introducing our strong team of local New Democrats. I have behind me here Peter Julian, candidate in New Westminster, Burnaby, Maillardville. Jenny Kwan, candidate in Vancouver East.
Yes.
Raj Singh Tour, candidate in Surrey Newton. Vanessa Sharma, candidate in Cloverdale, Langley City.
Hey.
Holly Isaac, candidate in Langley Township, Fraser Heights.
Hey.
Aleem Furkurani, candidate in Vancouver Quadra.
Yes.
And Suki Sahoda, candidate in Vancouver Granville. And Jaeger Rosenberg, the candidate in West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country.
Hey.
And last but not least, please can I welcome a man who has been a relentless voice for working people. It is my honor to introduce the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Bonita. So proud of the work you've been doing as Member of Parliament. Excited that you're a candidate again. Can't wait for you to get back to Ottawa to keep up the fight. And I'm really proud of this team that you're seeing behind me. This is just some of our amazing Lower Mainland team here. Powerful voices, powerful community advocates. These are the folks that you want on your side when you go into a fight. We're in a tough time right now. We already knew that life was hard before this campaign began. Before the threats of Donald Trump, life was so expensive. The cost of groceries, the cost of buying a home, the cost of buying a place that's affordable. It was so tough. It was so hard. So many people felt their budgets were just so squeezed. They were paying so much for everything. They had nothing left over to save up at the end of the month. So times are tough. And now we've got a storm in front of us. A storm that means a rocky future. We've got Donald Trump and the constant threats, the daily ups and downs, the tariffs and the trade war, which mean that a lot of folks are worried that they might lose their job. People are worried that things that are already so expensive will get even more expensive. So we've been laying out our vision for how we can make life more affordable. In that storm that's coming ahead, you don't have to choose between a leaky roof or a cracked foundation. You don't have to choose between Mark Carney and the Liberals, who have shown you that Mark Carney's really not in it for you. He's shown us who he's in it for. He has been the chair of a large corporate landlord that engaged in rent evictions. Kick people out of their homes just to squeeze more money out of everyday working families. That they bought affordable homes, specifically affordable rental homes, and then jacked up the rents to try to squeeze, again, more out of people. And it turns out he's the chair of one of the biggest tax dodgers in our country. So unlikely that he's someone that's going to stand up for everyday folks when he's been spending most of his career fighting for those at the top. And Pierre Poilievre, his vision for Canada is one where he wants to cut the things that you need. And it's going to cost you. That's what Conservatives do. He wants to cut healthcare. He wants to cut childcare. He wants to cut the things that you hold dear. It's going to cost you a lot of money out of pocket just to give big tax giveaways to those at the very top. It's what Conservatives do. It's in his plan, and it's going to hurt you. And so that's why we're putting forward an alternative vision. Our plan is different. Our plan is there, one that's in it for you. So here's the deal. Large corporations have been receiving low-interest loans from the federal government. Liberals and Conservatives have been giving them low-interest loans for a long time, but they haven't been helping a first-time home buyer buy their home. I think that's wrong. So that's why today I'm announcing our plan to give first-time home buyers public-backed low interest, fixed term loans to buy their first home. This would make a huge difference in people's lives. They'd be able to have affordable loans so they can actually buy their first home. If you think about it, just a 5% difference on an interest rate could save families as much as $9,500 over 5 years. That's more money to buy your groceries, more money to save up for the things that you need. That's our plan, a plan that's in it for you. It's never been done before, but if we can give loans to large, wealthy developers to buy buildings, to buy homes, why can't we give everyday families a break? Why can't we help out everyday families buying their first home? That's our plan, and we're in it for you. Donc, on est dans un temps difficile, c'est clair. On a déjà eu des difficultés à rejoindre les deux bouts. On a déjà eu des difficultés à faire l'épicerie, acheter une maison, c'était tellement difficile. Et avec la tempête de Donald Trump, ça veut dire que les choses vont être encore plus précaires, des incertitudes, des problèmes dans la vie des gens vont augmenter avec cette incertitude. Donc, vous ne devez pas choisir entre les libéraux de Mark Carney qui a déjà montré qu'ils sont des bords des ultra-riches. Ils ont proposé des plans pour aider les ultra-riches avec les coupures d'impôts pour les millionnaires. Mark Carney était le président d'une entreprise qui évite de payer leurs impôts, une entreprise qui cible les gens qui travaillent fort et achètent des immeubles avec le logement abordable pour augmenter les loyers. Il n'est pas quelqu'un de votre bord. Et Pierre Poilievre et les conservateurs, leur plan, c'est le plan de tous les conservateurs. Coupez les services dont vous avez besoin et ça va rendre la vie plus inabordable. Ça va augmenter le coût de la vie. Coupure en santé, coupure en système de garderie, ça va rendre la vie plus difficile. Notre plan est différent. On a proposé des plans pour rendre la vie plus abordable. On a parlé de comment on peut réduire le coût d'épicerie, comment on peut construire plus de logements abordables. Et aujourd'hui, notre annonce, c'est la suivante. Le gouvernement libéral et conservateur ont donné des prêts aux grandes entreprises depuis longtemps, mais là, ils n'ont jamais aidé les gens à acheter leur première maison. Donc aujourd'hui, notre annonce, c'est un gouvernement néo-démocrate va aider les gens qui achètent leur première maison avec un prêt financé par la public qui est de faible taux d'intérêt avec des termes fixes qui est vraiment abordable. Ça va aider quelqu'un pour acheter leur première maison. Je pense que c'est une idée nouvelle, mais c'est une idée audacieuse pour vraiment aider les gens, pas seulement des investissements pour les autres riches. On est là pour vous aider. Donc, je suis fier de cette annonce. C'est un autre exemple de comment on est là pour vous. On est de votre côté. Avec le cœur au ventre, on va se battre pour vous. Merci. And with that, I'm ready for any questions you might have.
Merci beaucoup. On va maintenant passer à la période de questions. Une question et une relance. We'll now take the questions from the press. One question, one follow-up. We'll begin with Janice McGregor, CBC.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. We've obviously had the CMHC insuring mortgages for a long time in this country, but this would be a huge step to move to a place where you actually had a taxpayer-subsidized public lender delivering mortgages. Have you consulted with banks and credit unions about how they would feel about this expansion of the public role in the mortgage market and what that might do to the housing market? Because this seems to me would be a fairly profound attack on their business.
I'm not too worried about what banks think. This is about helping out people. And for a long time, federal governments have been providing low interest loans to wealthy developers. So they've already been doing that for wealthy developers. They just haven't done it for everyday families. And I think it's the right thing to do to help out a first-time home buyer who's saying, you know what, I could afford a home if only my monthly payments are a little bit lower, and they don't qualify for the lower interest rates because this is their first home they're buying. So they don't have a credit score that will give them the lowest interest rate possible. So we're offering a real solution for those that qualify for a mortgage. They're going to get a lower interest rate. So I think that's something that's going to really help out people. I think credit unions do a great job of giving accessible credit to people and communities. This is just going to be another option, a real option for people to have a low interest loan. And again, I should highlight, this is not one solution. We need a host of solutions when it comes to the housing crisis. We do absolutely need to build more homes that are affordable. We do need to build a variety of housing, including cooperative and not-for-profit housing. But this is one piece of the solution to keep the dream of home ownership alive, to give people access to a low-interest loan.
En français aussi, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, donc je ne m'inquiète pas des positions, des opinions des grandes banques. Pour longtemps, le gouvernement fédéral a donné des prêts aux grandes entreprises, des développeurs, des riches développeurs. Donc, ils ont déjà fait ça pour eux, mais ils n'ont jamais aidé les gens qui veulent acheter une maison pour la première fois. Je pense qu'on doit faire ça. C'est important. Mais ce n'est pas la seule solution. Je sais que dans cette crise du logement, on a besoin de plusieurs solutions. On a besoin du logement à but non lucratif, du logement hors marché. On a besoin des coopératives. On a besoin de tout ça. Et on a aussi besoin d'aider les gens qui veulent acheter une maison pour la première fois, de les aider. On va garder le rêve d'acheter une maison pour les jeunes personnes. Et ça, c'est une façon claire d'obtenir ce but.
And bigger indulgence to ask on a different topic, but a fairly significant development on the foreign interference front over the last couple of days with the remarks from Liberal candidate Paul Chang about Conservative candidate Joe Tay. The Liberals are not removing him as a candidate. He has apologized, I appreciate. But wondering, Mr. Singh, if I could get your reaction to the comments and to the Liberals' response and the Conservatives' response to those comments, and how your party sees this situation. And also, if you don't mind, Jenny Kwan, I would like to hear from you on this issue as well, because you have been obviously personally affected, but also so active about the need to do better on this front. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. So I'll start off, and then I'll invite Jenny up to this podium. So first of all, I think what the Liberal candidate said was obviously wrong. It was clearly inappropriate. And while he's apologized, I still think what he said was clearly wrong. We've got a situation where the public inquiry into foreign interference really highlighted how serious the threat of foreign interference is. And we frankly have two parties that have a long track record of not taking it seriously. We got Pierre Poilievre, who is the leader of a political party that has had numerous allegations of foreign interference directly impacting his own leadership race, and refused to get security clearance, refused to get access to information about that. He was the only federal leader that didn't get security clearance. Every other leader thought it makes sense for us to know what's going on so we can protect democracy. He chose to put his party first. And I think Pierre Poilievre was wrong for doing that. And I think the Liberals also don't have a strong track record on this. They've ignored clear concerns around foreign interference. They've not acted when there was important information that they should have acted on. And now we've got another example of a candidate saying inappropriate things. And so I think there's a track record here. We need to change that. We need to take foreign interference seriously. All Canadians should be free from interference and should be able to participate in our democracy in a fair and just way without foreign interference. This is important for people's participation in democracy, and it's important for all of us to defend it. En français, et puis je vais inviter Jenny Kwan de partager quelques mots. Donc, ce que le candidat pour les libéraux a dit était inapproprié. Il a tort de dire ça, et il s'excusait, mais je continue de dire que c'était inapproprié. Et en général, on est deux partis avec plusieurs exemples où ils n'ont pas pris au sérieux la menace de l'ingérence étrangère. Le chef du Parti conservateur, Pierre Poilievre, a su qu'il y avait des allégations d'ingérence étrangère dans son propre course à la chefferie, et il n'a pas réagi. Et il a refusé d'avoir son code de sécurité. Il était le seul chef de parti politique de refuser d'avoir son code de sécurité et de refuser de savoir les détails de ce qui s'est passé. Je pense qu'il a voulu protéger son parti avant du pays, et il a tort pour faire ça. Et les libéraux aussi, ils n'ont pas un bon bilan. Ils ont ignoré les allégations sérieuses. Ils n'ont pas pris des actions quand les allégations méritaient des actions. Donc, je pense à ce moment, et c'est important de reconnaître, on a une menace d'ingérence étrangère On doit le prendre au sérieux. On doit mettre notre pays avant de nos partis et protéger notre démocratie. And with that, I'll invite Jenny Kwan to say some words on.
From my perspective, the comments from the Liberal candidate, Paul Chan, is absolutely astounding. He is a police officer, and he ought to know that when the CCP went out and put a bounty on anybody, including Canadians, that cannot be acceptable. That is intimidation at its worst. And yet, he played right into it. He advocated for people to bring him to the Chinese consulate to collect the bounty. In what universe is this normal? And especially in the face of Canada, where we are faced with foreign interference, active, sophisticated foreign interference activities targeting Canada's democratic institutions. We saw from the Hogue report a significant mention of transnational repression. That's what's happening right now. And it doesn't matter if it's a candidate, it could be anybody. And the fact is, Canadians are faced with that. People from Hong Kong who are fearful of their lives and that of their families, for example, people who speak up against the Communist China's repressive regime, are fearful for their lives and that of their families. That is what transnational repression looks like. And we need to stand together to fight against it and not peddle it as the way it is being done from the Liberal candidate. I should also add that the Liberals, frankly, has not taken this file, this issue seriously. We have a registry. People have called for the registry, and the House of Commons, New Democrats led this fight in bringing all the parties together to expeditiously pass the legislation. And what did the Liberals do? They did not fully enact the registry. We still don't have the commissioner, and we're into the election. Meanwhile, you have the Conservatives. Pierre Poilievre would not even get the security clearance. What is he hiding? And why is he putting his own political interests ahead of Canadians' interests? It's shameful. So we need to actually fight this fight. We're in the middle of the election, and only New Democrats have been taking this on seriously. It is time to act. We cannot afford to jeopardize our democratic institutions.
Thank you very much. We'll now pass to Radio-Canada. Julian Lapointe, Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh. La campagne conservatrice semble désorganisée avec l'arrivée de Donald Trump, des tarifs. Ça devient une question assez centrale dans cette campagne-ci. À quel point vous-même, dans votre campagne, vous avez dû ajuster votre message, ajuster peut-être votre stratégie face à ce nouveau contexte-là?
Je veux commencer en parlant un peu des conservateurs, le fait que c'est pas seulement le fait qu'ils n'ont pas réagi à la menace de Donald Trump. On a aussi des nouvelles qui montrent qu'il y a des conservateurs, dont même la campagne électorale, qui se battent contre eux-mêmes. Donc il y a des divisions dans leur parti. Et au lieu de se battre pour les Canadiens, ils se battent contre eux-mêmes. Nous sommes en solidarité comme parti, comme mes candidats, comme notre campagne électorale, en défendant les Canadiens. Et comment on a réagi à la menace de Donald Trump? On parle de qu'est-ce qu'on veut défendre. C'est quoi les valeurs qu'on veut défendre face à la menace de Donald Trump? Et on parle des enjeux comme notre soin de santé. On parle de comment on peut aider les gens avec la question de l'abordabilité quand il y a une menace posée par une guerre commerciale qui peut augmenter le coût de la vie. Donc, ça, c'est pourquoi on cible ces enjeux et on cible les valeurs qui sont chères aux Canadiens. Le fait qu'on veut défendre pas seulement notre pays, mais nos valeurs comme les soins de santé publics et universels. On ne veut pas devenir les États-Unis, on ne veut pas devenir le 51e État des États-Unis parce qu'on veut défendre notre système de santé publique et universel et on veut le renforcer, pas le vendre comme les conservateurs. Donc, on va continuer de proposer des solutions face à la menace de Donald Trump et des solutions qui vont rendre la vie plus abordable pour monsieur, madame, tout le monde. Yeah, for sure. That's fair. I'm just going to do that in English. I'll take a moment when answering that question to start off by talking about not only do the Conservative Party seem to be in disarray because they don't know how to respond to the threat of Donald Trump, there are also more and more reports coming out that they're in disarray internally. They're fighting each other. Reports coming out of the campaign office is one where their Conservatives are fighting each other instead of standing up for Canadians. New Democrats are united. All my candidates, our electoral team, our campaign, all of us are united in fighting for Canadians, fighting back against Donald Trump. But we're also in this campaign talking about what is it exactly that we're fighting for. Well, we're fighting for Canadian values. When we talk about not wanting to become ever the 51st state, a part of that is because we never want to have American-style private healthcare. We want to defend our universal public healthcare that's there for everybody. That's something that we hold very dear. And so we're going to talk about how we defend the Canada that we want, a Canada where we take care of one another, where we have universal public healthcare that's there for you, where we have strong pensions. And instead of Conservatives who want to cut those very things, make us more like the United States, we want to defend those things. And instead of someone like Mark Carney, who's talking about making a Canada that really is one for billionaires and millionaires, his first act was to make a tax cut that helped out millionaires. We're talking about helping first-time homebuyers buy their first home with publicly backed insurance or publicly backed mortgages. That's how we can actually help first-time homebuyers. So you can see the difference, tax cuts for millionaires from Mark Carney, helping first-time homebuyers with publicly backed mortgages with New Democrats. I think it's clear whose side we're on. Merci, thank you.
On vous voit aujourd'hui, vous avec certains de vos députés, d'autres qui sont candidats, mais la réalité, c'est que plusieurs parmi vous sont en danger dans l'élection, selon les sondages. Vous-même, votre siège n'est pas assuré, M. Singh. Comment vous expliquez ça en Colombie-Britannique?
En Colombie-Britannique, c'est important de savoir, c'est les néo-démocrates qui défèrent les conservateurs. Sur l'île, Vancouver, avec la menace des conservateurs, c'est les députés néo-démocrates qui défèrent les conservateurs. Ici, en Colombie-Britannique, c'est les néo-démocrates qui défèrent les conservateurs. Donc, on l'a fait avec nos députés sortants et on l'a fait avec nos nouveaux candidats. C'est les néo-démocrates qui peuvent vraiment faire face à la menace des conservateurs et qui va vous défendre. Donc, cette élection, c'est vraiment la question de qui est de votre bord et ça, c'est les néo-démocrates. I'll just do that in English because I think it was a good question. For folks out there in British Columbia, remember it's New Democrats that beat Conservatives. Again and again, you'll see New Democrats beat Conservatives. On the island, Vancouver Island, it's New Democrats that beat Conservatives. Here in the Lower Mainland, it's New Democrats that beat Conservatives. So if you want someone that's on your side, that's going to fight back and defend you and your family, not the billionaires, not the millionaires, not rich CEOs, but you, that's New Democrats that'll do it.
Thank you very much. Now, Rachel Aiello, CTV.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Picking up on that a bit, people have started questioning whether it is still the right strategy for you to be campaigning as to be the next prime minister in this election, and that's coming amid some speculation that your seat might be in trouble. Just wondering, is there another case you should be making to Canadians and to your constituents about the role you and the NDP should be playing in the next parliament?
I think it's a really important question, so I want to take a moment to reflect on this. With 25 of us, we were able to, 25 New Democrats, we fought for the biggest expansions of healthcare in a generation. We brought dental care and pharmacare. These are concrete things that improve people's lives. Millions of people have received dental care because of us. So if you elect more New Democrats, we're going to do great things for you. If you elect enough of us, I would be honored to serve as Prime Minister, and I'll fight every single day to make sure people's lives are better. Canadians will choose the outcome of this election. When you're choosing, remember, more New Democrats means you are better off. When you vote for a New Democrat, you get things like dental care and pharmacare, things that would have never happened but for us being there. The more New Democrats you send to Ottawa, particularly in this difficult time when there's going to be very hard negotiations about the future of our country, who do you want in Ottawa fighting to make sure that people are not on that negotiating table? Our healthcare is not on that negotiating table. Our natural resources, our environment, the things that make us who we are not on that table. You need to elect a New Democrat to do that.
And I'm hoping to hear from Ms. Zarillo or Mr. Julian or really any other candidate that wants to chime in on this one. I'm just curious, you know, we're seeing headlines about the NDP support in the province slipping. I'm just wondering what you're hearing at the doors and how are you addressing it when voters say that they feel like they have to vote Liberal in this election because of the threat of Donald Trump?
Well, I'll start off with an answer, and then maybe I'll invite Peter, because we had Bonita here, maybe, and Jenny spoke, so maybe we'll get Peter to mix it up. And so I'll start off by saying, think about what we were able to do for people in this minority government. We're seeing right now the Conservatives are infighting. Their campaign is kind of falling apart. They're fighting each other in their campaign office. Our campaign, our team is in solidarity. We're united and solid, fighting for you and your families. But think about what happened in this past minority government. Think about what happened anytime New Democrats had positions of power. We fought for you. The things that we hold dear, like our health care, that happened because New Democrats fought for it. Tommy Douglas and his team fought to deliver universal health care. Anytime New Democrats are elected to Ottawa, you are better off. So if you're wondering who to vote for a New Democrat. They're going to make sure that you have someone that's going to fight for you, that's going to stand up for you, that's going to be on your side instead of the billionaires. The billionaires already have a lot of support. You need someone that's going to fight for you, and that's a New Democrat. I'll invite Peter up to share a couple of thoughts. En français un peu, et puis je vais inviter Peter Julian pour ajouter quelques mots. Parce que je suis fier de mon équipe. I'm really proud of my team, and you heard from Bonita, you heard from Jenny, so we'll bring in Peter too. Et pour résumer ce que j'ai dit, je pense que c'est important si vous habitez n'importe où. On est montré dans les derniers gouvernements minoritaires, on est montré dans plusieurs cas dans l'histoire de notre pays, quand vous avez des néo-démocrates, des députés néo-démocrates, vous avez quelqu'un de votre bord. Et on livre la marchandise. On a un système de santé publique et universel grâce à Tommy Douglas et son équipe. On a des choses qui sont chères à nous dans notre pays à cause des néo-démocrates. Donc, si vous êtes en décision pour qui vous allez voter, votez pour un député néo-démocrate parce que c'est quelqu'un qui va se battre pour vous. Et Peter Julian, come on up.
Any could nod and say yes. Anyone can respond on how you're replying to those voters.
Yeah, come on up and share a couple of thoughts, sir. Good to see you.
Mais je vais les faire d'abord en français. J'ai jamais eu autant de dons, j'ai jamais eu autant de placements de pancartes, j'ai jamais eu autant de bénévoles que j'ai eu dans la première semaine de la campagne cette année. Et si on regarde les sondages, la première fois que je me suis présenté, j'étais supposément troisième dans mon comté, j'étais élu. Alors, nous, on ne fait pas beaucoup de confiance dans les sondages, on fait beaucoup de confiance dans la réaction des gens. Et à la porte, les gens sont très positifs. Ils ont reconnu que l'NPD a fait beaucoup de choses, pas simplement dans ce dernier Parlement, mais aussi dans le Parlement précédent. Pendant COVID, c'est l'NPD qui a vraiment pris pour les gens. Et là, avec des soins dentaires, les assurances médicaments, la loi anti-briseur de grève et j'en passe, et les gens reconnaissent notre travail. Alors, quand je parle avec les électeurs, je vois très peu qui sont prêts d'appuyer les autres partis à temps donné vraiment ce travail qu'on a fait. So I've never had as many volunteers, never had as many sign placements, I've never had as many little donations in the first week of the campaign, in this campaign, compared to every other one. And if we're talking about opinion polls, the first time I ran, I was told I was in way behind in third place according to the polls. We won that election, and we've won every subsequent election. So at the doorstep, when I'm talking to people, they recognize that the NDP has brought, not only in this parliament, but in the previous parliament, where we fought for supports during COVID for small businesses and families and seniors and people with disabilities, and students. They recognize that. They recognize our work on dental care. They recognize our work on pharmacare. They recognize our work on anti-scab legislation, on child care. And I could go on and on. I don't want to bore everybody with all the details, but literally the NDP has an unprecedented record of accomplishment. And I think Jagmeet has spoken to that. So I don't meet a lot of people at the doorstep that are supporting the other parties, quite frankly. They recognize the NDP's contributions, and they want to see more NDP MPs in Parliament.
Thank you. Now, Marco Vigliotti, iPolitics.
You mentioned in some earlier remarks about some of the divisions in the Conservative Party. It seems to be a whole focus on, Mr. Poilievre's inability or unwillingness to kind of pivot his message away from, axing the carbon tax to dealing with the tariff threat. I did kind of want to throw that back, though, towards you and your campaign. Some people may ask the question, is the NDP kind of focusing, is it kind of also shifting its message to deal with Donald Trump? So if I'm a skeptical voter out there and, polls show that the tariff threat has increasingly become a top concern for voters, can you convince me, can you point to anything in, your campaign platform or just your messaging that you wouldn't be saying, that you wouldn't be doing if Kamala Harris was the president?
Well, a lot of what we're talking about now is the fact that life has been really unaffordable. It's been really tough for a lot of folks. And that was the number one thing I heard on the doorsteps and heard across the communities. People tell me life is just, I can't afford it. And I would ask, what are the major two things major top things that you're worried about? And what would come out was right away, homes, like I'm having a hard time buying a home, renting a home, and groceries. And those are the two things that people would tell me they're most worried about. Now with the threat of Donald Trump, it puts this question of affordability really into highlight and makes it even more precarious, and people are really worried. Things are going to get even more expensive. So a lot of our focus is on, dealing with the storm, the threat of Donald Trump. What are we doing to strengthen our country? How can we strengthen our own nation in the face of this really serious threat? So a lot of what we're focused on is, well, if things are going to be uncertain, we got to make things more certain for people. And so today's announcement to give people a solid, publicly backed, CMHC backed, public mortgage that's fixed term, that's affordable, is about dealing with the uncertainty of the future. It's about saying, you know what, things might go up and down, but we're going to have your back. If you're a first-time home buyer, we're going to help you keep that dream alive. And when we talk about how we can bring down the price of groceries, it's also in the face of a lot of uncertainty caused by Donald Trump. How we can bring down the price of groceries and keep the big corporate grocery stores from ripping you off. It's again in that context of being ripped off in light of more threats coming from Donald Trump and the trade war, meaning things get more expensive. And when we talk to auto workers in Windsor, we talk to manufacturer workers saying, how can we make sure that we've got a more resilient economy? So let's build Canadian, buy Canadian, drive Canadian. Supporting buying Canadian vehicles to support our own industry in our country is about standing up and fighting back against Donald Trump. Using Canadian steel and aluminum to build the infrastructure, using BC lumber to build the infrastructure that we need in our country is about strengthening our own economy. Investing in our infrastructure is a way to say, you know what, we don't know what Donald Trump's going to do next, but we do know what we can do in our country. Let's build infrastructure that we need, and let's use Canadian materials, Canadian products, and Canadian workers to build up our country. So all of what we're talking about is how we can stand up to the threat of Donald Trump in that context.
Also, you mentioned, talking about the progress made around dental care and pharmacare. The Conservatives have been attacking, Mark Carney, saying, he's kind of stolen their ideas with getting rid of the consumer carbon tax, walking back the capital gains changes. But also, it's interesting that they've also been campaigning heavily on the progress they've made on dental care and pharmacare. So, you could make an argument that the Liberals are certainly trying to run with those kind of campaign wins or, legislative wins. Why do you feel like your party's not getting the credit for that?
Well, this is a campaign, and we think campaigns matter. And this is an opportunity for us to let people know, those things that we're really proud of, the things that the Liberals might be bragging about, we actually made those things happen. Dental care, we made happen. Pharmacare, we made happen. Anti-scab legislation, we made happen. And so when people are going into the dentist's office and getting their teeth looked after, seniors are getting their teeth looked after for the first time after living in so much pain, we can say very confidently, we made that happen. And this campaign is an opportunity for our candidates to go to the doors and let people know, those things that work really well, they would never have happened if the Liberals were there on their own. It's because New Democrats forced them to make it happen. And we can prove that. So this campaign is going to be a great opportunity for us to show the work that we've done and for folks to know, you know what, moving forward, let's keep in mind who's going to be in it for you. We've shown you we've been in it for you, but moving forward, you also need someone that's going to fight for you. There's a lot of uncertain times ahead. I really talk about this storm. That storm is coming. And you don't have to choose between a leaky roof or a cracked foundation. You've got New Democrats who want to build those safe homes for you to weather this storm. And not a storm that's weathered if you're super rich, but for everyday families. We're in it for you. And we're showing you that every day of this campaign. We're going to continue to show you that.
Thank you. Last question, Daryl Greer, Canadian Press.
You talked about New Democrats beating Conservatives on Vancouver Island, but places like that, Pierre Poilievre, regardless of the disarray in the campaign and the reports of that, they've kind of come to eat your lunch. They're appealing to the working class that the NDP is, usually the, self-proclaimed champion of. How are you trying to combat those kinds of voters that traditionally would have perhaps gone with New Democrats, but have gone over to the Conservatives because of Poilievre's targeted messaging toward them?
Like I said, I believe campaigns matter. And in this campaign, we're going to make the case for folks. Maybe you saw a flashy ad from Pierre Poilievre, but let's tell you who he really is. Who he is he's a career politician who spent his career attacking working people. People should know his track record and his voting record. He voted against minimum wages. Voting against a federal minimum wage increase shows you whose side he's on. That doesn't help a working person. That helps the big bosses. He voted against workers fighting back for fair wages. Again, sided with the big bosses. He voted again and again against the interests of working people. And in this campaign, it's an opportunity for us to let people know what his track record is, who he stood with and who he's not stood with. And look at his plans right now moving forward. His plan is to cut pensions. It's not hard to believe because seniors saw that happen under the Harper government. He wants to do that again. He wants to cut your pension. He wants to cut healthcare. At a time when we need more investments in healthcare, we need more healthcare workers. He wants to cut it, make it harder for you to get the care you need, make you wait even longer to get care. So this campaign is going to be one that really matters, where we can show folks that Conservatives cut and they hurt you, and Mark Carney is not in it for you. Like it's no surprise that a career banker and someone that was ahead of a large corporate landlord, Brookfield Investments, is not someone that's going to care about you and your family getting a home you can afford. When he spent his whole recent career, as recent as a couple months ago, being the chair of a company that's the biggest tax dodger in Canada, one of the biggest, a company that made money off the backs of hardworking people, targeting affordable homes to buy them up and jack up the rent. He is not the guy that's going to make life more affordable for you. And so really, people have an option in this campaign and in this election, and we're going to show that option every day of this campaign, that we're in it for you. Today's announcement shows you we're in it for you. Every day of this campaign, I'm going to show you that.
Just specific to that program, what criteria would someone have to fit in order to qualify? And I've asked this to many politicians and nobody's ever been able to answer. How much is reasonable for, let's say, a one-bedroom apartment in Port Moody to pay rent on or to pay a mortgage on, in your opinion? And this could go to any of your candidates. Who can give me a number? So what is the criteria? Does somebody have to make $80,000, $90,000? And how much is a reasonable mortgage payment? How much is a monthly rental payment? How much would that be to be reasonable in your opinion?
Sure. I can give you a couple of different responses. So first of all, who would qualify when you go to apply for a mortgage? The same criteria that you would apply for a bank mortgage, but instead of having to deal with a high interest rate at a bank, we're offering you a publicly backed, low interest, fixed term rent mortgage that's more affordable. So it would beat whatever the rates that banks are given. It would be more affordable. It would be long term. It would be sustainable. And the same criteria that someone would go in and get approved for another mortgage, it would be applied for this case. What would define a first-time home buyer? We've laid out some more details about that, and we can give you more details about our definition for a first-time home buyer. In terms of what's affordable, there's been lots of different metrics around what's affordable, but you need to have money left over to buy the things that you need in your life, your groceries, and save up. So there's been some folks saying that you shouldn't be spending half of your money on your home, and so more affordable would be, some folks have talked about 30%. It should be the cutoff. It should be no more than 30% of your take-home income, so you have at least 70% left over. But it should be that you have enough left over after you pay your housing costs that you could save up, you could buy your groceries, you could save up for a rainy day, go on a trip, and that's what we want to see happen again. If you look back, not too far in time, folks were spending a smaller portion of their income on their homes, and that's what we want to see happen again. So to do that, there's a whole bunch of different ways. We have to have affordable rent. We have to have cooperative homes. We have to have not-for-profit or not-for-profit housing, not non-market housing. We need a whole bunch of options. Today we're talking about one of those solutions, which is to give people a low-interest mortgage so they can afford to buy their first home.
Thank you. That concludes it.
It depends on someone's income. There's something red.
I know,
Yeah.
But
Thank you. That concludes the press conference.
We'll have more of a chat maybe afterwards.
Thank you very much.